Aim small, miss small.
Correction is 2,100 yards out.
That's more than a mile. Impossible shot, Chris. Can you confirm it's him?
It's him. Oh, it's him.
If you got it, take it, man.
Aim small, miss small. Do it for bagels.
Send it. Aim small, miss small. So big controversy you often hear when we're talking about training for hand-to-hand, hand-to-weapon, combat sports. Everybody talks about, oh, under stress, there's no way you can train. I mean, our system is called target-focused training. Obviously, I strongly believe that targeting is absolutely critical and important, but you don't always have to listen to me. So what I've done is I've gone to three champions in the combat sport arena. And the reason I'm doing combat sport arena is because why? Because that's the one that most people like yourselves look at. For some reason, we look to that to validation. You know, I've often talked about the difference with real violence. I'm a huge fan of combat sports. You absolutely do what you train, and you can train, and the people that are at the top of their game in the combat sport world all train to target for specific results. So I'm going to start out. First person I'm going to bring up is Mike Tyson. Let's take a look at him and how he trained with Customato. I love this thing. If you have not seen his one-man show, if he starts to do it again, I think you can catch it on HBO. It's fantastic. It's a great story overall, but this particular scene really resonated with me.
One of the first things Cuss ever told me was this invention called the Willie, right? It's named after light heavyweight champion Willie Pastrana, right? Let me explain this. Cuss will call out a number. Cuss will call out these numbers, right? Cuss will call these numbers
All
out.
these years later, he's still doing it.
And I'll do it slow because I'm an old motherfucker now, right? But Cuss will call the numbers in rapid succession and we'll go something like this. 1, left hook to the jaw, boom. 2, right hook to the jaw, boom. 3, left uppercut. 4, right uppercut. 5, left hook to the liver. 6, right hand to the spleen. 7, jab to the head. 8, jab to the body. Fuck, I'm glad I don't have to do that for a living no more. God damn.
Okay. So again, that's the number system that Mike used, that Customato put in. And he talked about the other fighter, Willie, the Willie system, you know, and it was based off of another fighter. And they called out specific areas, you know, punches that went to specific areas of the human body and got a specific result. And they showed it, and Mike showed it, he was a little bit slower, but when they first learned, I've seen how people trained this, you know, and how Mike originally trained it. They did not train at full speed. They trained it slow at first so they could memorize where to go, where exactly to punch, and what exactly the result was. But what did he hear? You heard targeting, specific, liver, spleen, face, chin. He knew exactly where he was going with these punches specifically. He was known as a devastating striker. And again, they'd yell out these numbers and Mike would know exactly where he'd go. And the other side wouldn't know what the numbers meant. But again, targeting. Okay, so that's Mike Tyson. All right, now we're going to go to Conor McGregor. Conor is really famous for a saying that he's going to say here, and it's going to show him doing the training that he's doing and the results of being this way. His saying is precision beats power and timing beats speed. And you'll understand, we'll talk a little bit about it. I'll let this play first, and then we'll talk a little bit about what he means and how he trained for this.
Give me your thoughts. Again, nobody can take that left-hand shot. But I tell you, he's powerful and he's fast. But precision beats power and timing beats speed. And that's what you saw there.
He will be hurt, and he will be hurt badly. He won't know, he won't have felt that power before. He won't have felt that smoothness before, that clinical precision before. I don't miss.
He already said that clinical precision, I don't miss. And it's the way that he trained. You can see he has a presence in there. This is him at the top of his game, where he just understands. He sees what's coming in because he's trained so well. He knows exactly where he needs to be, and he knows where he wants to land the next punch. It's fascinating how, he trained for this. Heard from Conor. Now, Conor trained with a guy named Ido Portal, and Ido really worked with him. Now, if you've ever seen any of those training sessions that he did, you can Google this, where he's using the pool noodles, and they're striking pool noodles, and he's learning how to move and come in, get that angle, and then boom, go right in. He knew exactly where he wanted to land his punches each and every time. But again, first started out slow, accurate, did a lot of slow, accurate training to get that because he needed that precision and he needed that timing. And that's how he trained to get it. So again, you do what you train. And these guys, again, they're training in a combat sport world. The reason this is even more impressive is because you have two individuals that are there to do a combat sport event. So they've been studying videos of each other. They've been conditioning. They know exactly what's going on. This isn't like on the street where it's a complete surprise oftentimes. And again, how do I train people? I train people to take advantage of a predator that does not fear you and bring something vulnerable close to you. And that's why it's so important that you know where on the human body to go, because it's even more devastating when people have no idea that you know anything. So now I'm going to finish it up with one of my favorite guys in the combat sport world, Bas Rutten. Just a great guy. I met him a couple of times, but this is a recent interview that he had with Joe Rogan, and he starts talking about, conditioning. Basically, he started talking about how he conditioned his shins for on a tie bag. And then it drifts right into the idea of aiming. Now, he calls it aiming rather than targeting, but you'll understand exactly what he's talking about in respect to this and why it's so important and why so many people overlook it. So let's hear what Bas has to say.
And then that was it.
What did you do for shin calcification?
Just kicking a bag. But we had I have to say this, we had a bag with regular sand in it.
Mm-hmm.
So then the lower you kick it, so what I would do, I will put a measuring tape around it, so I knew the exact place to spot, and I will kick that for like the next 10 days only there. And then only when I felt it's okay, I would do it one line below it, like literally this, and I would start kicking that. First of all, great for my aiming, and second of all, every time it gets harder, the lower I kick, it gets harder. By the way, aiming for people, it's so important, and
Okay, here's where he starts. Now, what he was talking about before, he was talking about conditioning his shin. He's talking about a tie bag, and they put sand in the tie bag, and obviously the lower in the bag, the more the sand is compressed and it gets harder. So what he would do is he'd start at an area where he could start conditioning his shin safely, and then when he felt like he had done that long enough, he would move it down just a little bit, and then he talks about the idea, oh, by the way, not only did it help with my conditioning, but it helps with aiming, and now he goes into a long explanation of why this is so important and why it's so overlooked in the combat sport world.
Go like, oh, dude, it's not normal. You see a lot of guys just hit the head, just hit the body. They don't really aim for their shots. Like if I'm Thai boxing you and you're wearing shorts, there's shorts, whatever logo is on there, I'll pick out one little piece on it, spot on it, and I will deliver my low kick, every low kick on the same spot. Once you start training yourself like that, you automatically start doing it. And think about this. If you have the power to knock somebody out with 3 low kicks, but you spread them out over 3 spaces, now you're going to need 9 low kicks in order to do it. So you see, this is how, if you kick me here in the gut, you can kick me, but you can't punch me here in the solar plexus. Okay, so why do not start hitting the solar plexus, the jaw, the spleen, the liver, really aiming for your shots, and that automatically puts you all.
Sound familiar? You might have heard somebody like myself talk about that time and time again. And again, this is coming from guys at the top of their game, and why they did it. They did it because it got them better results, and they understood it. He understands trauma of the body. Look how in depth he's about to go about this. He even would sit there and understand breathing patterns on when to strike somebody, because this is how he trained all the time. And again, how does this happen? It happens lightning fast, hard and fast for sure. But how do they train it at first? Slow, correct, accurate, deliberate.
So better in the zone. Because my first fights, I was hitting a silhouette. I just hit whatever I could hit.
Right.
Didn't really matter where I would connect. I just tried to finish the job. Now I'm completely different. Now it's like really waiting. Oh, he's breathing in. Oh, let's hit him at the moment he's breathing in. Like that's my second fight, how I won that. I use that a lot on your right kicks. If you throw a right kick at him with my stance, well, you're exhaling when you kick. You're inhaling when you pull back. Oh, I'm going to use that against you. I'm going to block the kick, and then while you pull it, recoiling it, I go straight to the body. That's straight, this power, you go down. You can do 5,000 sit-ups a day. You breathe in and I connect. That's it. You're going to go down. You see, and I really like those moments. I do this with legs. You know, I push you. I push and simultaneously kick. So I make you weightless. The muscle is relaxed.
That's key.
Then I kick you with the shin. Sure, I cannot generate a lot of power, but you don't need a lot of power. It works really well. And my last fight, actually, and that was not me timed. That was pure luck. But he stepped at the moment his foot was up. I kicked him. And I remember my shin. I literally heard click. My shin was touching his thigh bone. I felt just the skin click. First thing I thought, I won. And I saw him limp, and I kicked him one more time, fight was up. But that was the moment that his muscle was completely relaxed. But like I said, that was not me timing it. That was just luck.
Amazing. That last part that he's talking about is really key. He talked about the idea of, he said, I would pick if you have a logo on, say, your MMA shorts, he would pick one small area of the logo, and that's where he would place his kicks each and every time. Because what he was saying was, he knew 3 kicks in the same area could hobble a guy, and it could cause him to win a fight just with leg kicks. But he said if he distributed those kicks over 3 separate areas rather than the same time every time, he would have to do 9 kicks in those areas to get the result. So aiming made him what? More efficient. Then he talked about the idea of breathing. He talked about understanding that, hey, you know, if you are really conditioned and you're ready for a shot, yeah, me striking you to the gut isn't going to get much of a deal. But if I know where the solar plexus is, I can hit the solar plexus. And oh, by the way, I can also time it with your breathing to make you completely defenseless when you get the shot. Meaning, I know that you're going to be exhaling and you kick, and then as you bring back your leg, I know that you're going to be inhaling, which makes you loose. That's when I'm going to land the blow, because that's where you cannot defend yourself at all. Once you get that, you're done. Like you said, you can be doing 5,000 sit-ups a day. It doesn't matter because your body's what? Loose. And then he talked about the idea of making the body weightless. I talk about this all the time. The idea of, you know, when we talk about joint breaks, we talk about making sure there's a prior injury in the body. We want the body busy doing something else so it loosens up the joint area that you're going after. What he talked about is the idea of, hey, I would push a guy, it would make his leg weightless, and I would deliver a strike. Now, I couldn't deliver as much power in that strike, but because his leg is weightless and it's not, the muscles aren't flexed, he did that strike, and what did he feel? He felt his shin bone hitting the femur on his guy, and he knew that was such a hard, deep hit. He knew he'd won. He just he put one more in there, and the guy was done. All because of targeting. Bas says aiming, but targeting. Conor talks about timing and, you know, precision and timing. You know, getting that in there and the accuracy of going in there. Mike talked about the numbers that he called out, where he went for specific areas of the human body each and every time. Now, these guys are all world champions, and at the height of their abilities, they were, you know, truly unstoppable. Why would they take the time to train like this? Because it got superior results. And that's why it's worth doing, you know, training, understanding, targeting the human body, understanding trauma, especially when your life is on the line. If you have that one opportunity to take care of a predator, you're going to want to be trained in a method that maximizes the damage you can do to that predator. And the way you do that is through targeting and learning how to deliver body weight into that strike. That's why it's so important. That's why I hammer it all the time. So I hope by hearing these 3 champions talk about it, that it'll cause you to rethink, because you heard Bas, he goes, oh, I see everybody. He goes, they're out there. They're just hitting the head. They're hitting the body, no specific area. He talked about before he started doing this, how did he used to fight his first couple of fights? He said, I was basically just hitting a silhouette, just hitting, hoping for the best. And then he started discovering this idea of aiming and going in, and he realized the power of it. So again, I just wanted to bring this up because oftentimes I get these quotes from everybody that, oh, you know, under stress, there's no way you can be accurate. Well, that's true. If you do not train for accuracy, if you do not train for aiming, if you do not train for targeting, guess what? You won't get it. But if you train like that, you just heard from 3 champions that they all got results doing it. So think about it. Now listen, if you and your family are ready to start putting together a plan to minimize the chance of violence coming in your life, please go to timlarkin.com, give us your email, and we will send you out a report that gives you 11 different modules to help you put together a plan that will help to minimize the chance of violence coming into your life. Until next time, stay safe.